Hello, this is episode 35 of the Movie Burner podcast, the weekly podcast from Movie Burner Entertainment, where we discuss the latest entertainment news, reviews and share our views. So what's up first, John?
First this week, Stephen, we're going to be discussing the release of the first trailer for the upcoming Halloween 2018 reboot, remake, whatever the hell it is, and just giving our thoughts on the whole thing. Of course, Jamie Lee Curtis returning to the franchise once again. Hopefully this time it's a bit better.
Yeah, totally ignoring the other sequels, John, and remakes, the Rob Zombie ones, etc. as well. You know, first impressions of this teaser trailer was that it was very well put together. Certainly gave you that feel to the original movie, the 1978 movie. And from what I believe, this is a follow-on from that, and we're ignoring all the sequels, H2O, etc., which I thought actually was quite good. But yeah, it's the trailer itself had that 1970s horror film feel to it. There was a few creepy moments in there, and it's one of those films that a lot of people are already saying it's a film that doesn't really need to be made, and I can see where they're coming from. We are obviously here to talk about the trailer itself and not the what we feel about the franchise, which we'll probably get into anyway. But no, the trailer, I liked the trailer. I thought it was well put together, and it was good to see the famous Halloween score in there as well. Yes,
completely agree. That was one of my favourite parts of the trailer, Stephen, when that iconic score came in. It's just eerie, gets the goosebumps all going. And yeah, there were some great moments in there. Very early doors in the trailer, they do hit home to everybody, and just in case you don't know that this is going to be a reboot or a kind of a continuation of a universe, completely discarding the sequels. I think they say in the first shot, we're going to investigate the man that killed 3 teenagers back in 1978. I believe he then goes on to say he was shot by his own psychiatrist, so that sets the tone. They're letting everybody know, just in case you don't know, this is a reboot. Then of course there's just a whole host of very cool moments in it. And then of course we've got Laurie Strode, and I believe Jamie Lee Curtis plays, has got a panic room installed in her house. So this is a woman that's very much prepared for the oncoming threat, or potential threat, of Michael Myers getting out of this high security prison or mental asylum. That moment too, when the 2 investigators turn up at the prison and they walk out into that checkered red and white kind of a courtyard, and you've got all the lune balls getting off their heads when they start to pull the mask out. That was eerie as well. I just loved the visuals, the way it was panning down from top to bottom, and just the shot of him standing. He's an ominous figure, Michael Myers. He's such a towering, foreboding figure of a man. He's got that presence about him. Even when he's got his back turned, you don't need to see him face on. You don't need to see that iconic mask, which he hasn't got at that moment. You just see him from behind, and you know this is a man you're not to be trifling with. And that was actually one of the things I thought right away when they started pulling that mask out. I started saying in my mind, what the hell is he doing? Don't antagonise him, because he's not a man to be trifled with. But I'll let you in, Stephen. What was your thoughts on some of those scenes?
Well, that particular scene, John, I was worried because I thought we were actually going to see his face. Yeah. I was really thinking, oh, don't go there, but it was a great scene. I loved the sounds in that scene as well, as they were pulling that mask out from the bag. It was just a high-pitched sort of noise, it just gave us the chills. But no, you're right. Laurie Strode, the character Jamie Lee Curtis plays, John, she's certainly got that Sarah Connor effect about her in this film, where she's more geared up and ready for the arrival of her brother. She just obviously is ready for his reunion with her. And Jamie Lee Curtis is a fantastic actress. I've not seen her in such a long time, but she's certainly up there, and it's good to see her coming back to this franchise.
Yeah, I believe it's been about 40 years, Stephen, she's been waiting on this threat coming. Clearly in that time she has been working very hard. Certainly she's improved her aim. She's quite the sharpshooter in this trailer. Just gave me vibes of Princess Leia and just about every other prominent female figure from Star Wars, and the way that she just hits every target. Certainly she hits, I believe it's a reflection of Michael Myers in one of the top windows. There's no way that's really him. I always thought he was a bit of a supernatural figure, but no, he is a real man, apparently. But yeah, she's got some aim on her. There's another couple of moments I really enjoyed, most notably the woman hiding in the toilet cubicle, and obviously Michael Myers coming in, and you just knew she was caught in it. We actually says when we were watching it before we come on, when we done a little recap, that she should just kick the door down, because that is the only way you can beat this guy, is fight fire with fire. Of course she didn't do it. He drops the teeth on the ground. That was eerie. And then he obviously murders her, I would presume. And then we obviously get that scene prior to that as well, where Laurie Strode is coming out and she's facing up against the mannequin. It's kind of a full of pot shots, so she's clearly been gearing up for this for a long time. Completely agree. It did give me Sarah Connor vibes. But yeah, I'm just really looking forward to this film now. It's got me geared up for it. It wasn't a film I was particularly looking forward to or anticipating in any way. This franchise has just been on a downward spiral for a long time now. I've probably seen maybe 2 of them. Seen the original Halloween, and I did watch H2O, and I agree with you on that one too, Stephen. I thought that was a decent enough film. It wasn't as bad as the other abominations that have littered this franchise over the years. But hopefully this is going to be a fresh start. They're going to completely discard them, kick on from the original into this. Certainly get that 70s vibe off it. It's got those sort of visuals. The character looks immense. Michael Myers back again with the mask. Looks like a continuation of the original, so that's great. And that cupboard scene at the end as well. How the hell could I forget about that? That's probably the most eerie scene where the woman's trying to shut the door and you just know he's going to appear. We also says when we were watching it, Stephen, that you would have a heart attack if it happened to you. These guys, you just don't want to see them in your bedroom in any shape or form. So that is just utter terror right away. We're going to go and watch this in the cinema, and I'm absolutely positive about that, Stephen. This is a film you have to watch in a theatre. You can't watch this on a TV. It just wouldn't conjure up the same amount of terror as going to see it in a big screen would.
Definitely, John. I think there's a lot of films out there are made for the big screen. Certainly horror genres definitely are. Just getting back to what you were saying, John, about did we really need this movie? I wasn't that bothered when it was announced it was getting made. I wasn't really that bothered that Jamie Lee Curtis was coming back to the role either at that point. It's the trailer that's really turned my head here. I just thought it was a well put together trailer. It's nice to see Nick Castle back as well. He's played Michael Myers in I don't know if it was in the sequels, but I know that he played the character in the original 78 film. Again, I want to see the humanisation, if that's a word, of this character. I don't want to see this kind of figure that you don't know if it's supernatural or not, because I've seen them all. From the top of my head, Halloween, the original movie, is the best. Halloween 2 was not too bad either. Halloween 3 was actually away from the Michael Myers story arc. It was, I think it was about witches or something like that. It was totally, nothing to do with the Michael Myers stuff. I think there was maybe 4, 5 and 6 before we got to H2O. I'm not sure if Nick Castle played the character in all the other films, but it's nice to see the original actor coming back to play the role again. He looks more prominent in this film as well. From the trailer, we see him do a few fancy moves with his knife, spinning it and stuff like that. And he's certainly going out in the public as well, from what you see from that trailer as well, bumping into some of the kids that are out trick-or-treating. So that's something I've not seen before. It was always a figure that was in the shadows. In fact, I think his character was called The Shape in the original 78 film, just because he was just this phantom. He was turning up behind you in a mirror reflection, his shadow behind bushes. He was never just walking about the street bumping into people. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out without taking that kind of mystery away from the character. But I'm certainly looking forward to it. And yeah, I think we'll go along and see it in the cinema, and we'll no doubt be doing a movie review on it near the time, John.
Yeah. Final thing I'll add is that, I completely agree again that I want to see the humanisation of this character, because he was a supernatural figure in some of the sequels. I seem to recall he get decapitated in one of them, and then he popped back up again. And it's like, is this guy a demon? Can you not kill him? So yeah, I want to see the more human side of this character, and it does certainly look like it's going to be a battle between Laurie Strode and Michael Myers, and there's not going to be a huge amount of emphasis on the side character, so that's another positive for me. But we are going to move on to the second topic in this week's show, and it's all about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Of course, the new Quentin Tarantino film, which is set in, I believe, the late 1960s, and it's focusing around the whole infamous Charles Manson murders.
Yeah, John, from Cinema Blend, they announced Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood has added Damian Lewis and more actors to the cast. For Quentin Tarantino's supposedly penultimate film, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the author is seemingly trying to put together one of the most absurdly stacked casts ever assembled. The cast already features the usual suspects of frequent Tarantino collaborators, as well as exciting talent that will be working with the director for the first time. At the head of the cast are Leonardo DiCaprio as former Western TV star Rick Dalton and Brad Pitt as his stunt double Cliff Booth, now joining Quentin Tarantino's 1969 Hollywood and Manson family murderers pastiche. A lot of new names and some intriguing roles, among them in Billions actor and Golden Globe winner Damian Lewis. And according to Deadline, Damian Lewis will play Hollywood icon Steve McQueen in the film. The Great Escape and Bullet actor enjoyed the heights of fame and popularity in the 60s and 70s. The ultra-cool, super smooth Steve McQueen was a friend of actress Sharon Tate, and according to legend, he was supposed to attend the actress's dinner on the fateful night when the Manson family killed her, only to escape that fate by going off with a mistress. Including Steve McQueen in the film shows that all of the major figures adjacent to the Manson family murders will be accounted for in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. To that end, several other newcomers to the cast will join Damian Lewis.
Yes, this is very promising, Stephen. Anything that Damian Lewis is in always catches my attention. Absolutely love the guy. Loved him since way back in the early 2000s when, of course, he starred as Dick Winters in the Band of Brothers. That, for me, is probably still his best performance, just because I'm an absolutely massive fan of that series. I think it's probably one of the greatest TV shows ever created. So to see him popping up in this film is a massive, massive positive. And just the fact that he's playing Steve McQueen as well, obviously we will have to dye his hair, because I do believe Steve was a blonde head, not a redhead. But this guy, I can completely see him playing Steve McQueen. He's got the looks, he's got the physique and stature of him right down. So that's a massive positive. And again, you can see things starting to take shape here already with this film. You see the cast he's putting together, he's assembling, and the way they're going to all interconnect into the story. He did say a few months back that this was going to be less focused on the Charles Manson murders in general and more about just the year itself around LA and the way it all interconnected to become a memorable year, I believe, something along those lines anyway. And you can see this with the array of actors he's bringing in and just the roles they're playing, the people they're playing. So it does look as though we are going to have a lot of different stories all interconnecting from different perspectives, and it might be a culmination of the Charles Manson murders maybe towards the end of the film. I don't know, I'm prattling on, but it's very intriguing. And just to see the likes of Brad Pitt coming in, I believe as a stunt double, Leonardo DiCaprio coming in and taking a 50% pay cut to be a part of this project, Margot Robbie, Dakota Fanning, Al Pacino's in there, James Marsden's just joined the cast as well. He's just assembling a ridiculously stacked cast for this film. I can already see this doing well come award season. I can see it racking up a fair few nominations. I can't wait to see the film.
Just keeping on who is in this film, John, as you said, Margot Robbie, Brad Pitt, Leonardo DiCaprio, and Dakota Fanning, James Marsden, Timothy Olyphant's in there as well. I think he played the villain in Die Hard 4.0. He's a great actor as well. As you said, Al Pacino, Kurt Russell. You know, from that report it did mention that there was a lot of the traditional Tarantino actors would appear in there. Certainly Kurt Russell's one of them. Damian Lewis, as we already mentioned. Luke Perry from Beverly Hills 90210 from the early 90s, I recall. Tim Roth, another one of Tarantino's main players. Burt Reynolds is in there as well. He must be a fair age now, old Burt. And you've also got the likes of Michael Madsen, who Tarantino can always rely on to play a big role or a small role in his films anyway. He's a terrific actor. Zoe Bell, who started off as Uma Thurman's stunt woman and I think Kill Bill. She's went on to do films like Death Proof, being a prominent actor in that series as well. Nicholas Hammond, I've not heard of him for years. He was Peter Parker in the Amazing Spider-Man films from the 1970s, the late 70s, early 80s. They also played him in the television series as well. I think he started off as a young actor in The Sound of Music or something like that. I can't remember. Very varied.
Yesterday?
It certainly wasn't, John, but this is a film that we've talked about briefly in a few podcasts. It's starting to come together now. We're starting to see the cast being put together and a few surprises in there, John, but it's Tarantino using his old actors again, which we expected anyway, but one of the ones that did surprise me was Al Pacino.
Yeah, he did surprise me. I can't recall who he's supposed to be playing in it. I think he's playing the main...
Marvin Schwartz.
Yeah, he's playing I believe it is Leonardo DiCaprio, the fledgling actor who's struggling. He's going to be the kind of a main figure that's tying all these little perspectives and stories together. I believe he's playing his agent in it, so... I think it's one of the most ridiculously stacked casts I've ever seen. Everybody was gushing about Murder on the Orient Express, obviously from last year, going on about that cast. This is on a completely different level again to that, Stephen, with just the likes of Brad Pitt, as I says, Al Pacino, all in here. I've just been reading about this film in general. I was excited about this film from day one, really. Just the premise of a film focusing on the Manson murders. I'm a bit of a morbid git when it comes to things like this. I do go back and look at things like this. I'm intrigued by it, just history in general. But some of the more macabre and darker stories from history just intrigue the hell out of me. But just seeing the actors coming out and begin to talk about this, and obviously Tarantino himself, he says it's a very hush-hush and top-secret project. It takes place in 1969, and it's going to be transforming Hollywood and Los Angeles street by street, block by block, into the 1969 incarnation. That just excites the hell out of me, because I love seeing Tarantino work and just the way he can utilise sets and locations and make it look like a real authentic period piece. We've also seen him do it with a couple of Western films. I can't wait to see how he's going to do it with this. He did say I think it's the closest film or project he's got to Pulp Fiction. So that's another massive positive. My all-time favourite Tarantino film, Pulp Fiction. You also have the likes of DiCaprio saying that it's hard to speak about the film when they've not done it yet, but he's incredibly excited to work with Brad Pitt, that he thinks he's going to transport them. He's a huge fan of Singing in the Rain and movies about Hollywood. He's a Hollywood native, and having read the script, it's one of the most amazing screenplays he's read, and he can't wait to do the best job possible to make it fantastic. Even Sony Pictures chairman Tom Rothman has come out and says it's one of the best screenplays he's ever had the privilege to read. Now, when you've got the likes of Leonardo DiCaprio, who's obviously worked with Tarantino in the past, saying it's one of the best screenplays he's ever read, that is just a massive, massive boost for this film. Because, let's be honest, Django Unchained was just a phenomenal film. It's one of his best films. I love going back and watching it. It's got that rewatchability. It's got amazing characters. Explores brilliant themes. Obviously, racism and slavery being one of the biggest ones. So for this to be getting described in this manner by the likes of DiCaprio, it's just bodes so well. Can't wait to see it, as I say. I can't really speak highly enough about my anticipation for this film. I love Tarantino, one of my all-time favourite directors. I'm just excited whenever a new film comes out from this guy, but this one's just another level, and I can't wait to find out more information.
Yeah, strangely, John, when The Hateful Eight came out, a lot of people disliked it. I thought it was an okay film. It wasn't one of the best Tarantino films out there, but it gets such huge praise as well. I think it gets something like 8 out of 10 in IMDb, and for a film to get that kind of rating speaks volumes. I thought it was okay. A lot of people thought Tarantino may have lost his way and his edge, but listen, see all these reports coming out, especially guys like Leonardo DiCaprio saying, this is one of the best screenplays he's read, and even, coming from Sony Pictures as well. That's promising, and it's very encouraging to hear. I certainly didn't think he'd lost his way. I think he was just dabbling in other genres just to really flex his directorial muscles. But I'm looking forward to this film. Dakota Fanning in there as well. I've been a fan of hers since I Am Sam, when she was just a young girl, and she was just acting with maturity in those films. I think Man and Fire was another film around about that time with Denzel Washington, and then 2005's War of the Worlds, and she's been a prominent actress since then. A lot of child actors kind of fade away, or they lose their way a bit in their own sort of personal life, but she's been a very grounded lady, and I know that she's appearing in Ocean's 8 at the moment as well. So I'm interested to see what role she plays in this film as well.
Yeah, the couple of final things I'll add on, Stephen, is that it'll be interesting to see who else pops up for this film, because obviously there was rumours of him approaching the likes of Jennifer Lawrence, Tom Cruise. I know you don't particularly like Mr. Cruise. I don't hate him by any means. He's a mixed bag for me. He doesn't take enough risks, but I'd love to see him popping up in this film, because it's just adding to the array of talent, really. I've been reading again, and the more and more I see about it, the more excited I get. As I said, just him talking about how he was 7 in 1969 when this whole story would have been playing out, and that he can't wait to see the dynamic teaming of DiCaprio and Pitt as Rick and Cliff. So I do wonder if this is going to be a kind of a mismatch and buddy type thing with these two guys off, obviously trying to make it in the business whilst all this other stuff is interconnecting. The final thing I will add is that just the fact that they are saying it's got Pulp Fiction vibes to it, that was one of my favourite things from that film. I think I said this in a previous podcast when we discussed this, that what I love so much about Pulp Fiction was that the vast majority of the story played out in one day. It was obviously 3 or 4 different perspectives of it all playing out in one day, and then you were going back in time to also explore the Bruce Willis character's part in the story, and then the way it all interconnected. It was just amazing, intelligent in the way it was done. I can't wait to see this in this setting. We've got all these different stories all interconnecting and it ending in the culmination of the murders, if indeed that is what it's going to be. Maybe it could be the murders at the beginning and the effect it has on everybody in the aftermath, but I just can't wait to see it, and I'll be looking very much at all the news coming out for this one.
That's what gives it that rewatchability though, John. Tarantino's got a knack for doing that, and you know, filming sequences out of sequence, I should say. You know, it inspired the likes of Guy Ritchie to try that sort of method in Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels, and then it comes to that sort of finale. You've got all these interlaced stories at all different points in the day, and they all, you know, they all link up. It's very cleverly done. But just moving on now, John, this was a double piece of news that dropped, very much related, and it was that the Jared Leto standalone Joker movie is definitely happening, and I think on the same day it was announced, so was the Joaquin Phoenix Joker Origins movie, I think set in the 1980s, was still on the cards, if you pardon the pun, but this was coming in from vulture.com last week, and it said Warner Brothers now has 2 Joker standalone movies in the works, and Variety is reporting that one will star Jared Leto reprising his role from Suicide Squad. Keeping track of all the potential Harley Quinn and Joker based movies at WB requires something like a Carrie Mathison on Homeland wall chart, but here's what we know for sure. Leto will star in and executive produce his solo Joker project, which is now in search of a writer, and that movie will be different from the Joker origin story being developed by director Todd Phillips, and that will potentially star Joaquin Phoenix. That's the same movie being produced by Martin Scorsese, and Leonardo DiCaprio was rumoured for at one point. Warner Brothers has formed a project umbrella that runs adjacent to its primary DCEU films, meaning that studio plans to mine its DC properties for a variety of storylines with a variety of different actors that don't have to adhere to the primary Justice League continuity. That's where Phillips' Joker origin story comes in, but there may be more for Leto's version on the way in that Harley Quinn and Joker criminal love story that WB announced last summer.
Yeah, I'm happy with this. I've always said one of my biggest criticisms of Suicide Squad was the fact that the Joker character was an absolute joke in it. If you can pardon the pun again, it was a joke, criminally underused. Obviously, it was a big part of the promotion. I seem to recall him and Harley Quinn being one of the biggest parts of the promotion for the film. Turns out he was in the film for a combined 5 to 10 minutes if you're absolutely lucky. Just a side romantic sort of a character for Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn. He was just barely in the film, and what I did see of him, I didn't particularly inspire me, I've got to be honest. It didn't inspire me to want to see a new film starring him, but such is my admiration for the acting abilities of Jared Leto, then I'll give him a chance, because I do know he's a phenomenally talented actor. Anybody that can play Mark David Chapman, that absolute auction-thieving cretin of a man, and do it so well, is obviously an incredibly talented man, so I'll give him a chance. In terms of the other story, the other film starring Joaquin Phoenix, that is incredibly promising to me as well. That is one that I'm more anticipating. Just the whole story, I think we discussed this before, it was going to be a darker, grittier sort of a film, focusing on the mobster element in Gotham City. I may be making that up, who knows. But also the way that Joker was going to come in, it was going to be an origin story for him, perhaps before the rise of Batman. It's just that it's going to be 2 completely different stories. We know that for sure. One's going to be part of the DCEU, one's going to be a standalone set 30 years ago, and they're going to have completely different tones, completely different visuals. Joaquin will make the character his own. He's a completely different sort of actor, obviously totally different in terms of looks and stature. And yeah, I'm excited for the 2 of them. I can't wait to find out more information about these 2 films. I think we've got a little bit more on the Joaquin Phoenix standalone film at the moment. As you said, they're trying to get a script written for the Leto story, but yeah, I mean, I'll let you in with your thoughts before I further embellish my thoughts on it, Stephen, but yeah, I mean, I'm not overly excited for the Leto film. It wasn't something I was screaming out for, but I'll give him a chance.
Yeah, I think just for continuity they have to do it at some point, John, and I'll certainly watch it. You know, I think Leto's a terrific actor. I think he definitely got a raw deal in the Suicide Squad. I don't think there was enough of him. Understand what they were trying to do. You know, the focus was on those other characters. But as you said, the promotion element to that movie was very Joker filled, and it kind of misled the audience a little. I'm the same, John. Joaquin Phoenix, this standalone film is the one I'm anticipating. The reason for that is, as you know, I'm going through a bit of a DC binge at the moment, the animated movies, and there's a lot of concern about the timing and the release of these two versions of the Joker that it's going to really confuse the general public. Well, what I say to that is the general public must be morons, because I'm watching different versions of different comic book characters from DC, and I'm certainly not getting confused with them. You know, they're not any continuations. This is where I think Warner Brothers and DC have to be applauded. You know, a lot of people were giving them a lot of stick by not following the same formula as Marvel, and they're certainly not doing it here. In fact, I think this is a bold move from them. I think, releasing this standalone movie that's got nothing to do with the sort of Justice League timeline is a great move, because this is going to open up possibilities for other standalone films, and I'm very much on board with that. I can certainly process that, and understand that it's got nothing to do with the current, timeline in the DCEU, and I think it's a great move. I think having Joaquin Phoenix playing the Joker as well is a brilliant casting call. He's a terrific actor. I think he can really play a dark version of the clown Prince of Crime, and I think that we're going to see another version of this classic character. It's certainly Jared Leto's had the sort of tough one, following up from Heath Ledger's portrayal in The Dark Knight, which a lot of people still regard as the best incarnation of the Joker. Certainly that's arguably correct in the cinematic universe, but no, I'm more interested in seeing this standalone film than I am the Jared Leto one, but I'll still go and see that as well.
Yeah, I agree with the standalone thing, Stephen. This is definitely the right direction for DC and Warner Brothers to be taking. Certainly with the complete and utter abomination it was Justice League at the box office. So this is the right direction. They have to go off. I don't know if it's going to come out before Leto's Joker film or whether it's going to come out before the Bird of Prey film. I highly doubt it. But I always loved the fact that DC did kind of do the standalone films. That most did do a trilogy, but they were always famed for doing separate films. They weren't interconnected. Not every single studio has to go off and copy the Marvel template where it's an interconnected, expanded universe. They seem to be the only company, studio, brand that are able to make this a success. They kind of play with their own rules in that regard. They can release as many films in a year as they want. They can have it set in a whole array of different worlds involving different characters. It can be a complete unknown character that nobody knows anything about, and it will still gross a good $1 billion at the box office. DC don't have that luxury. Certainly we've seen it with Disney and Star Wars. They don't have that luxury. But certainly in regards to Star Wars, this is the route I'd like to see them going down. Have their interconnected, expanded universe if they must, but go off and do more interesting stories that are standalone, much like the standalone Star Wars films, which I've actually enjoyed probably more than the saga stories that they've been putting out. But I'm not going to get into Star Wars, Stephen. We get into it all the time. We're talking about DC and the Joker, and I also agree about Joaquin Phoenix being able to play darker, grittier characters. We've seen it before. He can play a complex, troubled character. We've seen it in Her, where he was a kind of a lonely figure, had this strange sort of a relationship with the AI and his phone. So we know he's got that in his locker. He's an actor with incredible range. He can go from playing Jesus at one moment to playing a deranged figure at the very next moment. So I cannot wait to see this film. And it's meant to be a darker, grittier crime drama as opposed to a comic book film. So it will have a completely different feel, as I says. Jared Leto's a totally different Joker. He's got his own idea of what that character should be, obviously with the teeth and the tattoos and just the general look. He's more of a mobster kind of thing as well. He didn't strike me as being that insane Heath Ledger type figure. Oh, he was clearly insane because he was bouncing off of helicopters, shooting at people with machine guns. So he's not a man that's sane by any means. But I've always loved the Joker character and the fact that you've got all these different takes. You've got Mark Hamill's, Heath Ledger's, Jack Nicholson's, Jared Leto's, and it'll be very, very intriguing to me alone just to see what Joaquin Phoenix does with this character in this standalone film. That is why this has my intrigue a little bit higher than the Jared Leto one.
Yeah, I mean, they don't have to go back to Batman 66, in all campiness of of all the characters. But one thing I will say about Cesar Romero's was that he did play it the correct way, in the sense of, you know, that kind of madness about him, you know, and that high-pitched laugh. But no, it's a character that's always intrigued me as well, John. I'm thoroughly enjoying seeing the different incarnations of him in the animated universe at the moment as well. And as you said, Mark Hamill, you know, he's just so synonymous with the character, and you know, it's just the energy that he puts into that character. I think Joaquin Phoenix will do this role justice, just being a terrific actor. He's certainly got a kind of a crazy edge about him anyway, you know, the person. And I think this is a movie that I'm looking forward to seeing. Just moving on now, John, this is us moving into the next segment of our show, the Movie Burner Blog Rundown, where we discuss the last 7 days of movies that are on the website at movieburnerentertainment.org. Under our section, the Movie Burner Blog, and we've got some terrific writers in there putting their thoughts to films that they've been watching currently. And we're just going to start with a movie that was actually passed to us by the director Alexander Cooper. Alexander actually pointed us in the direction of another one of his films that he produced from 2016 earlier this year in parallel, but this time it's Darren that's viewed and reviewed this movie from Alexander Cooper, and it's called Sandow.
Yes, I've not seen the film, Stephen. I can't really add my own personal thoughts on it, but as you say, it is directed by Alexander Cooper. It's been written by him as well, and he stars in it too, so he's clearly a very talented man, probably been very busy as well. And the plot is about an impressionable Launceston elite coming under the spell of the iconic Sandow the Magnificent. He seeks out his idol and becomes his protege. Now, I don't know much about the figure of Sandow, Stephen, but I believe he was kind of a sort of pioneering figure in the world of bodybuilding, and he was an interesting chap. I believe the story is set in the late 1800s to the early 1900s, so it's a period piece. I've said many a time before, I'm a man who does enjoy a good period piece film. So I would probably give this a bash. I have dabbled in bodybuilding in the past to not a great deal of success, thanks to my thyroid absolutely killing me. But yeah, I would probably give this a bash.
Darren gives us a mid-rating here, John. That's based on, I think, he felt that some of the scenes were a little bit too long, and it kind of killed the momentum a little bit. Which is fair dues. You know, Darren goes on to say in his final thoughts that there's stuff to like here, and it's always nice to see a new director's work. This is filmed in very much an old-fashioned way, and I liked it for that. It has its flaws, but I do think it was interesting. I do wish that they would have broken some of the biopic cliches. Can understand that, Darren. Just like to thank Alexander once again, who actually contacted us directly to, you know, give us early access on this film. You know, Darren thoroughly appreciates getting direct access as our senior writer to these movies, and you know, good luck with your next project.
Yes, I completely concur in all those points you've just made, Stephen, and we are going to move on to the next film, which is Sherlock Gnomes, directed by John Stevenson and starring Kelly Asprey, Mary J. Blige and Emily Blunt. The plot is about an egotistical London detective who must work with his sidekick Holmes and Romeo and Juliet to try and solve the mystery of disappearing gnomes across London. So I did see the trailer for this one, Stephen, when I went to see Isle of Dogs. Didn't look as though it was going to be my cup of tea, so I didn't go and see it. But I'm kind of a hit and miss with certain animated films. I do like films that kind of interconnect with younger audiences and adults alike, and I do believe that Anna Maria says in a review that indeed that was one of the faults of the film. Some of the jokes fell flat with the adults, and the twists were a little bit too complicated for the younger audience, so it doesn't really do that on both accounts, so I don't think I'd go and watch this.
Yeah, she does mention that it's more marketed to a sort of toddler market, which is no good, really, as toddlers can't go along to the cinema themselves. But she does mention, you know, some of the negatives was, as she said, you know, the jokes that are supposed to be amusing for the adults felt forced. It's almost like they wanted to pull a Shrek and be amusing for both adults and children, but didn't fully commit. Some of the positives being that this film is really nicely animated, it is aesthetically pleasing, and the animation feels very smooth. We talked about this, I think, on the actual UK box office, John, that although it's got a decent cast, it wasn't getting very good ratings on IMDb, etc.
No, I think that's for much of the reasons Anna Maria has explained in her review, Stephen, that it's just not done enough to connect with adults or children alike. And that's I think they've tried to do that because a number of animated films in the last few years have very successfully connected with both older audiences and younger audiences, the likes of Zootopia, The Secret Lives of Pets, Coco, Paddington. They've all managed to do that, and this film's clearly failed, and that's why it's getting absolutely panned by critics and audiences, general audiences alike. But we are going to move on, Stephen, to the very next film, which is Action Point, which is directed by Tim Kirkby, and it stars Johnny Knoxville, Bridget Lundy Payne, and Susan Yeagley. I don't know what the plot is about, but it does star Johnny Knoxville, a man very close to my heart, Stephen. I've loved the Jackass series, and interestingly, I was just talking about this to you earlier on, Stephen. I actually was reading an article and watching a video about Johnny Knoxville going through the top 10 worst injuries that he experienced in his career. Obviously, he's a famous stuntsman, a prankster, and a guy that likes to fling his body about all over the place. So just his inclusion in this film alone is a positive for me. I don't know about the rest of it though.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this review from Chauncey. You know, like you said, John Knoxville, you know what you're getting with him. Chauncey does mention that the non-Knoxville gags works just fine. Pontius doesn't have to take any punishment but is on hand to say or do something weird and or gross. He's incredibly charming and reminiscent of the guy in the high school who's obnoxious yet able to get away with anything because people can't help but laugh. It's interesting that the gags are mostly limited to stunts as opposed to Bad Grandpa, which implemented hidden camera pranks. This is an attempt at a more straightforward narrative that aspires to be a Meatballs or Caddyshack type of film that is loose, ambling and looking to entertain.
Yes, I didn't realise it had Chris Pontius in there as well. He's also another chap from Jackass, so I'll probably give this a bash, even if it's in a similar vein to Bad Grandpa. A film I actually did get a lot of enjoyment out of, and I'll probably give it a bash. This seems right up my street because I am a massive fan of Jackass, so I'll probably give it a watch at some point. But we are going to move on to the next film, which is Solo, a Star Wars story, reviewed this time by John Gray. We also had another one last week, and it's of course directed by Mr. Ron Howard, and it stars Alden Ehrenreich, Woody Harrelson, Donald Glover, Emilia Clarke, and a couple of other people that I'm not going to mention. And we know what the plot of Solo is. We've discussed it a lot. It's about the backstory of Han Solo, how he got to meet all of these famous characters that are in his life later on in the saga. And we enjoyed the film, Stephen. I think he enjoyed the film as well. I think he gave it a 4 out of 5. That'd been a similar vein to the sort of a rating I would give it if I was to review it.
Yeah, Jordan actually mentions, you know, aside from being immensely fun, it is also rather funny. It is. Yeah. You know, I think they got the humour right. I think I mentioned this actually in our breakdown from a couple of weeks ago after we watched it that Sunday. I just think that they got it right, especially with the Lando and the Han characters. I think the chemistry between them was very funny. And it's a good standalone film. You know, a lot of people are judging it based on box office numbers, and I don't think they should be doing that. I think they should go out to the cinemas and get to see this film. I noticed on Twitter on Sunday that Ron Howard was pleased with this film, a little bit disappointed obviously in the numbers, and you know, asking, not so much pleading with people to go out to the cinemas, but asking people, give it a chance, you will enjoy it. And I've got to agree with that. It's a very fun, entertaining movie. I think Alden Ehrenreich, despite my reservations when he was cast, has proved me wrong. He's proved a lot of people wrong. I thought he was a very charming Han Solo. Didn't once go down the impersonating route of Harrison Ford, although there was a lot of trademark Han Solo type, mannerisms in there. I felt it worked and it wasn't forced. And it's one of those ones that, unlike The Last Jedi, I will get on Blu-ray. Yeah, and I actually agree with one of the things that John says in his review about Alden Ehrenreich's performance. Much like you said, Stephen, it doesn't get down the impersonation route, but there is a few moments, facial expressions and vocal inflections, which is absolutely bang on. He didn't get down the impersonation route, but he did capture that essence of Harrison Ford's take of the character at certain times, but it was sparse enough to give you a sense that this is a younger Han Solo we were seeing on the screen. But I'll let you in, Stephen. You've got another little thing to say here. Yeah, just on John, who's come in as part of our writing team. He's got a great article. It's on the homepage at the moment, movieburnerentertainment.org, that you should check out, titled What Disney Can Learn from Solo. It's a very interesting read. He makes some great points, and you should check it out.
Yeah, she absolutely should, Stephen. But the next film, we've got Death Wish, and it's reviewed by D.M. Anderson. And of course it stars Bruce Willis, Vincent D'Onofrio, Elizabeth Shue, Dean Norris, Kimberly Elise, and a whole host of other amazing actors, and some not amazing actors. It's directed by Eli Roth, and it's a good revenge story, which is obviously a bit of a remake of the classic 1970s one. I watched this film. I think you reviewed it not too long ago as well, Stephen. I think you share much of my sentiments. It wasn't the most amazing action film you'll ever see in your entire life. Certainly I prefer the likes of John Wick. It's a similar revenge tale. It's a little bit more humanising though in regards to the main character. He's not this superhero figure that's just going about murdering people left, right and centre. Oh, he does do a lot of murdering, but he's a little bit more realistic, toned down. I enjoyed the film for what it was. It was a bit violent, but I enjoyed it.
Certainly, John. With these remakes, the best thing to do is not go in expecting it to be better or on par with the original. The original movie was such a classic cult film, starring Charles Bronson, and I like what they did with this. I reviewed this, I think maybe about a month or two ago, after going to the cinema to see it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Dave actually does hit the nail on the head very late on in his review. He says Death Wish may not be another cultural milestone, but is a lot of vicious, violent fun, and if nothing else, this film is a hell of a lot better than the god-awful sequels Bronson finished his career with. I can't disagree with that. It's one of those things about those sequels, they did sort of just tail off, sadly, for Charles Bronson's career, and I wholeheartedly agree with Dave on that summarisation of the review.
Yeah, and I agree with the great violence. That moment where he drops a jack and he pours acid on the guy's, I believe it's a nerve in his leg or something. Yeah. It was just so enjoyable. And for a sadist like me, I get so much out of it. But we're going to move on to the next film, and that's Synchronicity, reviewed by Darren, and it's directed by Jacob Gentry. Stars Chad McKnight, Brianne Davis, and AJ Bowen, and it's about a physicist who invents a time machine and must travel back to the past to uncover the truth about his creation and the woman who is trying to steal it. Yeah, this kind of seems like a sort of a sci-fi film, Stephen. Maybe a hint of Terminator meets the Time Machine. It's intriguing. I don't know if I would go and watch it because time travelling movies out with maybe Back to the Future aren't really my thing. Obviously the Terminator did feature time travel, and I loved the Terminator, but it got a little bit convoluted, and that was down to the whole different time travelling aspects of it and the way it muddied the water. So
I totally agree, John. I think Back to the Future films, Terminator films, the Time Machine, Butterfly Effect, those type of films certainly cover the genre. I like time travel movies. I was a little soured with Project Almanac, which I reviewed last year. Part of it was due to the fact they used part found footage technique, which I don't like, and also there's not that element of surprise anymore in these type of films. As Darren says in his review, there's a common formula in these type of films where you're going back or forward in time and you've got to fix something or you're making things worse, and I totally agree with that. I get where he's coming from. His final thoughts are, if you are a time travel fan, then this is well worth a watch. At parts it's compelling and clever. The film for me just doesn't hang together as well as I would have liked it. I mean, that's totally a personal opinion from Darren there anyway, as it should be in movie reviews, but it's one of those ones, I wouldn't go out my road to watch, John. If it certainly came on the TV and it caught my eye, I might watch it, but I just think the time travel sort of genre is played out now. I don't think there's much more you can do. Days of Future Past covered this in one of the X-Men films quite well. It's certainly a storyline you can use to sort of tidy up loopholes and plot holes and stuff like that. Rebels as well, used it. The animated Star Wars series used a little bit of portal use as well. So it certainly can, come into storylines as long as it's not the main storyline, but it's not one that I don't think I would go out my road to watch.
No, it isn't. And we're going to move on to the final film of this week's Movie Burner blog rundown, and that is Wonder Woman. It's another delve into the DC animated universe for you, Stephen. It's from all the way back in 2009. It's directed by Lauren Montgomery, and it stars Kerry Russell as Wonder Woman, Nathan Fillion, Alfred Molina, and Rosario Dawson. That's quite a good cast. I think it's actually got Oliver Platt in there as well, so it's got a very, very good cast. And Yeah, I like much of the other DC animated films. I'm sure you'll fire in and give us a little bit of what it's about, Stephen, but I'm intrigued by these. I actually think I will go in and start watching them as well.
This is probably the best one I've seen so far, John, and that's not an understatement. You know, we were talking about the other week there, why DC and Marvel have got this, more so Marvel, that they've got this back catalogue of material they can go into and cherry pick the best bits from. Something that Lucasfilm are struggling with at the moment because they're trying to disregard all the expanded universe stuff. This animated film from 2009 got a 7.4 rating on IMDb, and I can totally get on board why that rating is so high. I thoroughly enjoyed this film. Clearly see why Patty Jenkins wanted to do this film. If she has saw this, I'm assuming she has, because a lot of the sequences and storyline from this animation is certainly in the live action one. I'm not, the biggest comic book reader. I certainly like the animated versions of the comic books. This is certainly an origins film. I can understand why a lot of this was cherry picked to appear in the live action film as well. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought the cast was great again. As you mentioned, all those terrific actors in there, and it still amazes me that you get people like Nathan Fillion and Oliver Platt, etc. Taking part in these movies. They want to be part of them. Certainly they must be fans of the comic book genre as well. David McCallum was in there again. He was playing Zeus. He played Alfred in the Gotham Knight. He's one of our actors here from Glasgow who's very famous, and it's great to see guys like Jason Miller as well, Rick Overton in there as well. They're just terrific actors and voice actors in there, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I certainly would recommend, if you are thinking about getting into starting to watch these movies, John, you won't be disappointed in Wonder Woman.
No, and I thoroughly enjoyed the live action version of the film, Stephen. I thought it was one of the best DC EU films to date, probably neck and neck with Man of Steel, which gets a lot of crap, but I actually thoroughly enjoyed it, and I think Henry Cavill's the best Superman to date. I keep saying it, but he is, in my opinion. But that just brings us to the end of this week's Movie Burn the Blog rundown, where we break down the previous 7 movie reviews on the website. And we are going to move on to the next topic, Stephen, the final topic in terms of movie discussion, and it is about the potential casting of Ryan Gosling, Ezra Miller or Donald Glover as the new Willy Wonka in the upcoming Warner Brothers prequel film.
We talked about this, John, maybe about a month or two ago, in regards to whether it will be a reboot or whether it will be a prequel involving Ryan Gosling. There's certainly a few other names being thrown in the hat now, as you said, in Ezra Miller and Donald Glover. Just before we go on to talk about the potential shortlist, John, this, according to reports, this film would be a prequel, which I hope it is, because I think the story of Willy Wonka and Charlie Bucket winning, the golden ticket, etc., has been done to death now. I know it's only been 2 films with Johnny Depp and Gene Wilder, but that's all we need from that storyline. If you're familiar with the books, then you'll understand. We don't really have to go back into that sort of timeline. I'm very interested to see how Willy Wonka came about, meeting the Oompa Loompas, saving them from their land and bringing them to the chocolate factory. It certainly is quite kid-like storytelling, but it's just one of those ones. We got the Great Glass Elevator, which was a sequel to the chocolate factory. I'd like to see this storyline taking place prior to the events of the chocolate factory.
Yeah, and as you say, Stephen, it is only 2 films, but it's one film too much. And certainly Johnny Depp, God love him, I'm a big fan of the guy, but that just didn't work. It did not work. He was a creepy, weird looking figure, and it just didn't work. I'm very, very, very interested in the 3 potential chaps coming on. Apparently they're spearheading the shortlist. I think this was broken by Collider. Ryan Gosling, of course, has been after this for years and years and years. He's been wanting to play this role. He would probably be my number 1 choice, just because he's got that Gene Wilder look about him. You could pull it off. He could just have to grow the fro out, maybe style his hair a certain way, and he would look like Gene Wilder. And if you're wanting that continuation into the original and it being a prequel film, then he would be my number 1 choice personally. Ezra Miller, I know he's starring in the Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them franchise, which is also a Warner Brothers franchise as well. So he's got that continuity with the studio, and that may work. But I just don't think he's got the. I just don't think he wouldn't be my choice. I do like him and admire him as an actor, but he wouldn't be my choice. Donald Glover is a very interesting one. Also, that would completely shake up the character. Having a person of colour coming in to play him, I personally wouldn't have a problem with this. I've said it before. Absolutely love Donald Glover as an actor, as an artist in general. I think he's incredibly talented. I think that'd be amazing. That'd be a very big surprise. Certainly he's got the talent to pull it off. We've seen it with Solo, one of the best things in that film. And yeah, I wouldn't be averse to him coming in either. It's very, very interesting, very different candidates. My personal choice would be Ryan Gosling, just for the continuity leading into Gene Wilder's film. But we've spoke about them rehashing and rebooting films, Stephen, and certainly if they bring in Donald Glover to play the role, they're certainly differentiating this film completely, and it might be for the best.
Certainly, John. I think Donald Glover has proven how versatile he can be in different movies, different genres. He certainly showed us his humorous side in Solo. I think he would be a good choice, actually. I think he would play the role very well, keeping it very true to the character. Ezra Miller, he's a talented actor, but I don't think he's got the. I don't know what the word would be, but I don't think he's got the kind of Hollywood glamour the likes of Ryan Gosling or Donald Glover would bring to the character. And I don't mean that in any sort of disrespectful way. I think he's, every film I've seen him in, he's been absolutely fantastic. I just don't think this is the right role for him. I don't think he could carry the film in much the way that Glover or Gosling could. I know that Gosling's been pursuing this for years, this role. I would like to see it go to him just based on that. I think this is more a passion project for him. I certainly don't see any quotes on the internet from Donald Glover saying that this is a passion project for him. No. I think the role would suit him. I think he would do a very good job. But like yourself, I've got to agree. I think I'd like to see Ryan Gosling playing this role because I think he has got that kind of Gene Wilder element to him.
Yeah, one thing I'll say about Ezra Miller, Stephen, is that he definitely has got that zaniness. He's got that off-kilter edge about him. We've seen it in Fantastic Beasts, where he played a kind of a strange figure, so he has got it in his locket to play that type of character. One final thing I'll say is kind of interconnects into one of the topics we were talking about earlier, with producer David Heyman, who's working alongside Paul King on this. He's actually producing Once Upon a Time in Hollywood as well. I wasn't aware of that, and that's another thing that's posing very well for that film. It's completely off topic now, but he's a great producer. Yeah. Having him on board with Paul King for this film is another big positive, and I'm sure whoever they get in to play the role, it'll be a very good film with an interesting story. But we're going to move on to the final part of this week's show, which is Box Office Chat, where we discuss the top 10 films within the UK box office for the previous weekend. What is it, number one?
Not surprised, John. It's Solo, A Star Wars Story. It grossed 3.1 million over the weekend. Overall, in its second week, 13.8 million. Now, we already discussed the big drop from the first week to the second week. Anyway, John, doesn't come as any surprise, but it's no surprise that it's still at number one. For a film that's getting panned, it's still number one here in the UK. Yeah. It's not great for it though, is it, Stephen? You actually look at the total gross, 13.8 million. I think The Last Jedi and The Force Awakens may have made this in one day. Yep. I think they may have made more than this in probably their opening day. So it's not great for it. I don't know why it's doing so poor. I'm completely flabbergasted with the whole thing. I know there's maybe a lot of elements to why this isn't doing well. There's obviously a fractured fan base, and obviously just the business of the period. They've got Deadpool 2 and Avengers Infinity War in the theatres alongside it, so it's got a lot of competition, but it deserves to do a lot better than this. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun adventure film, and I'm flabbergasted that it's doing so poorly, even in the United States. It's not doing well. I think it's only grossed about $140 million. It's toiling. I don't even think it's going to break $550 million at best when it's done. That would be a complete disaster for the studio. Yeah, they've grossed $4.5 billion or something already prior to this, so it's not going to hurt them, is it? Let's be honest. But it's a disaster for the likes of Kathleen Kennedy, who I would imagine's jacket's on a very shugly peg at the moment. Yeah, and just moving on to number two, John, it's Deadpool 2. in its third week now here at the UK box office. Over the weekend, it gained £2.6 million, overall 27.6 million. Now, you saw this movie, John.
Yeah.
I'll let you in a little moment to give your thoughts on it. I'm seeing it this week. Can't wait to see it. Loved the original, and from what I'm told, it's certainly up there with the original.
Yeah, I'd put it on an even par with it, Stephen. I don't know how they've done it, but it's just absolute gold, this film. Many films you would watch a trailer for it and you'd say, right, there's bits in there, that's hilarious, it's worked in a trailer. But in the context of a film, it probably won't work as well, but not with this film. All the highlights, funny moments, like I'm running down the alleyway, it just works in the film as well. It's hilarious. I don't think I've laughed so much at a film in a long time. It's got great violence in there, but the best thing I enjoyed about it was the fact that there was moments where it really was quite introspective into Wade's character. He was in a dark place, without giving much away. He was in a dark place. He kind of was exploring afterlife sort of things. But the way they meshed that in with just humour, back to back, you'd have a humorous moment, then it'd be a sad moment where he's reflecting, and then it'd go bang right into a humorous moment. I just thought that was one of the highlights. T.J. Miller, it's a tragedy that this guy's not going to be back in this franchise, because he was just amazing. Him and Ryan Reynolds on the screen together, it's just absolute magic. It's a tragedy that he will not be back. I thought Josh Brolin was incredible in this film. He wasn't really a villain. He was more in the vein of a tragic figure, really. He's coming back to try and right a wrong. The little boy played Firefist. He was great as well. He started off slow, but he really ended in a high. And without giving much away, they set up X-Force very heavily in the promotion of this film. And there's a moment where they are just absolutely eviscerated. But it ends well for X-Force, that's all I'll say. Thoroughly enjoyed this film. Thoroughly deserves to be grossing what it's grossed, 27.5 million. I believe it's about to become the most successful R-rated film and the most successful comedy sequel, and certainly in the United States, and it thoroughly deserves it.
Yeah, just one of the things that I picked up on what you said there in regards to some of the other elements to the Deadpool films is that although they're extremely funny, it does have some dark moments as well. And I'm basing this on obviously the original movie. Yeah. Well, there is some dark tones in there, and the story can become very gritty and very emotional as well. But that's sometimes overlooked because of, and I think it's down to the way these films are promoted. They are very, very funny, but it does have other elements. It's not all two-dimensional.
Yeah, and one final thing I'll say on it, Stephen, I don't want to linger on it too long, but the music choices up there with Guardians of the Galaxy for me, they just work. And you're right, it's a very dark film in places, but it's completely overshadowed by the comedy and the dialogue from Ryan Reynolds. Just an amazing guy, just perfect match for the character. But we're going to move on to the third film in this week's box office chat, and it's Avengers Infinity War. Still up there, it's grossed 1 million at the weekend, and it's now sitting at a very healthy 70.4 million. It's been out 6 weeks. This thing is just tearing it up. It's about to cross $2 billion worldwide. It's an incredible film that thoroughly deserves it. Yeah, and it's certainly going to totally dominate the Blu-ray chart as well eventually when it comes out in a few months' time, John, where it's just going to rake in more cash. And rightly so. It's one of the biggest films over the last 10 years, and it's got that rewatchability. We've talked about this in great lengths over the last month or so. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's my favourite Marvel film to date. I was always concerned on how they would handle such a big cast. They did it perfectly. There was no obvious egos flying about in that film, although you've got obviously Star-Lord and Tony Stark in there who've got the biggest egos out, but I just felt collectively the cast worked their socks off, and the chemistry and storyline justified each and every role. And just moving on now to, this is a film that we just talked about in the Movie Burner blog rundown. It's Sherlock Gnomes, gaining £900,000 over the weekend, grossing 7.3 million in 4 weeks. John, that's not too bad for an animated film. Yeah, I think we said that last week as well, Stephen. It's not too bad for an animated film, which is getting hammered with the critics. It's doing very well. Fair play to it. I've not got anything against it. It's just not my cup of tea. Can't really add much more to that. I don't know whether you can. And we're going to move right on to the next film, which is number 5, and it's in Book Club, and it's grossed 706,000 at the weekend, taking its total gross to 1.1 million. It's been out 1 week. Again, talking about films that are not my cup of tea, this is a rom-com. It's certainly going to have its audience. By all accounts, it's not a bad film. It stars Diane Keaton, Jane Fonda, It's got a good cast. Andy Garcia's in there as well. It's very much one for the ladies, I would have thought. Certainly my mother is looking forward to watching this, so it has got its audience. I'm not target demographic, but I wish it well.
Yeah, it's basically 4 lifelong friends have their lives forever changed after reading 50 Shades of Grey in their monthly book club. So I can see where the movie's going right away just from the synopsis. And as you said, John, you know, you've got the likes of Keaton, Fonda, Bergen in there as well. Steenburgen, a terrific actress who I spoke about many times, more so related with the Back to the Future 3 part in that as well. The woman just doesn't age. Still looks exactly the same as she did in 1990. Andy Garcia's in there as well. Don Johnson, who I've not heard for a lifetime, from Miami Vice fame. Alicia Silverstone, Richard Dreyfuss, terrific actor. Certainly got the cast, John. Yep. And from early indications, it's getting mid-range ratings on IMDb. It's certainly you know, it's 19 theatres throughout our city, so I think this one will hang about the top 10 for a few weeks.
Yeah, I think it will too, Stephen. And we're going to swiftly move on to number 6, which is Show Dogs. It's grossed £600,000 for the weekend, taking its total gross to a very surprising 2.2 million 2 weeks in. This isn't supposed to be that great, Stephen. It's kind of in a similar vein to Dr. Dolittle Part 7. I'm jesting, of course. I don't think they went as far as 7, but you get the point I'm making. It's not a very good film. It's starring dogs. Said it last week. Dog films with a comedy sort of a tone just don't work.
No, talking dogs as well. It's something that was it was played out in Little Nicky, if you recall that movie. There was a talking dog in that kind of mentored Adam Sandler's character. The CG was very impressive for its day. It's certainly, this seems to be the sort of gimmick in this movie, which is getting a 2.9 out of 10. I don't think I've seen a lower rating than that in a long time.
Some of Nicolas Cage's films?
Possibly some of Nicolas Cage's films involving dogs, I don't know. But no, it's just surprising it's so high up in the top 10. It kind of shows us where we're going for the rest of this top 10. Just moving on now to big sigh there from John, folks, for the next movie in the top 10, coming in at number 7. It's I Feel Pretty. It's in its 5th week. Gained £300,000 over the weekend, grossing 5.1 million overall.
Yeah, it's doing okay. Fair play to it. It has grossed just over 5 million. I'm not getting what it had to Amy Schumer. It's not my cup of tea, but it's doing okay. Fair play to them. And we are going to move on straight away to number 8, which is Blade Runner, the final cut in its Secret Cinema 2018. It's grossed, you guessed it, £213,000 for the weekend. It's now sitting at a total gross of 3.7 million. It's been out 11 weeks. It's the same figure every weekend, Stephen, and just the nature of the box office at the moment, there's not a huge amount of competition. It's just going to continue to sit in the upper echelons of the box office in the UK because it's crossing a consistent figure every week. Not getting much more to add to it. We have spoke about it ad infinitum, and we're going to move right on to number 9, which looks like a potential foreign film, and it's Very Die Wedding, I believe that's the way you pronounce it. It's crossed 211,000 for the weekend. It's a new release, and I think it'll be a very short stay in the box office for this one. Yeah,
this is an Indian film, John, and we've got a very large Indian community here in Glasgow, so I can see why it's it's doing quite well here in the UK. If you look at cities like the likes of Leeds, Manchester, etc., it's got large Indian communities. This is directed by Shashankar Ghosh and stars Kareena Kapoor, Sonam Kapoor and Swari Bhaskar. And this film is about 4 girls on their way to find true love discover that their friendship this strong has its consequences. Doesn't really explain a lot, but it's apparently a comedy. From that synopsis, I would have gathered that would have been a romantic comedy. The early signs are it's not looking good for it. It's coming in at 2.8 out of 10 on IMDb, and it's only shown in surprisingly 1 theatre here in Glasgow. After me saying we've got such a large Indian community, only 1 theatre here in Glasgow is showing it.
Yeah, it sounds like an Indian version of I Feel Pretty, a Life of the Party, Stephen. And talking about Life of the Party, it's out of the top 10. We're going on to number 10, and it's on Chesil Beach. It's grossed 129,000 for the weekend, taking its total gross to a rather modest £623,000. It's been out 3 weeks. It's got to be a low budget film. It of course stars Saoirse Ronan. By all accounts, it's a decent little film. I'm not going to watch it. because like most of the films in this week's top 10, it's not my cup of tea.
No, I think this movie's going to be on a streaming service very shortly, John, and that's not doing it a disservice or anything like that. I think just when you look, again, it's only shown in one theatre here in Glasgow. I don't think it's going to be in the top 10 next week. I mean, the synopsis itself is very cliche. I don't mean to sound derogatory or anything like that towards the film. It's based on an Ian McEwan's novel set in the early 60s in England about a young couple who find romance colliding with issues of sexual freedom and social pressure, leading to an awkward and fateful wedding night. I'm not going to get out my road to see this, I've got to be honest with you, John. I like Saoirse Ronan as an actress. Emily Watson's in there as well, and Anne-Marie Duff. Great cast. But as you said, it's one of these low budget type independent films, which, you know, I'll always give these a bash anyway. But I think this will be on a streaming service very shortly, and I might give it a look then.
I won't. And that just brings us to the end of this week's box office chat, where we break down the top 10 films in the UK box office. And indeed, it brings us to the end of episode 35 of the Movie Burner podcast. We'd like to thank you for listening to us once again, and we'll be back next week.
Remember guys, if you're enjoying the content we're putting out, then subscribe to our channel, like, comment and share our videos. You can also find us on iTunes and Google Play at the Movie Burner podcast, and give us a little follow on Facebook and Twitter at Movie Burners. If you fancy a spot of casual reading, then all our latest written reviews and occasional articles can be found at movieburnerentertainment.org. Until the next time, goodbye.